I always tell them, you don't have to be the most successful in real estate. You just have to be consistent.
Welcome to the Closing Table Podcast, real accounts from real estate professionals, brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat Schooler, and today I'm sitting down with real estate agent Tori Angiolini. Tori is a team lead with the Angiolini and Jankowski team out in Pittsburgh, and they are one of Pittsburgh's top producing teams. Today, I sit down with Tori and talk about how she works with clients and how she works with her team to find success in real estate. We also talk about some of the biggest mistakes she sees agents making, and stick around to the end to listen to Tori's goals for success for the rest of 2024. Let's dive in. Tori, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's get started with how you got started in real estate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I got started in real estate. It's actually kind of a long story, but I graduated college with 2 degrees, one in human resources and one in management, business management. And initially I took that path. I thought that's what I wanted to do. I started in human resources as a staffing manager. Liked it, didn't love it. So then I got into the event planning industry, which I really loved. I love doing that personally, so I thought that it would be awesome professionally, and it was. But unfortunately, the hospitality industry got hit with COVID when COVID happened. So it was really tough. We weren't doing any events. I still was grateful to be able to keep my job, but I needed something new. And my entire life, everyone has always said, Tori, you would be so good in real estate. And I was like, yeah, it sounds cool, but I always brushed it off. And one day I was sitting at my desk, and I remember it was the middle of winter, and Pittsburgh winters are horrendous. And it was gray outside, and I was like, I need something new. My job was really slow, and I just didn't know what was ahead for me. So I just signed up for my classes. And I took my classes while I was still working my job. And then from there, once I got my license, I went into new construction, which I was so excited about, because I jumped from, I kind of skipped a step. I was like, okay, I don't have to sell the investment properties and the lower price properties. I'm going to jump right into these beautiful, new construction homes. So I was so excited. My parents had built with the same builder, so I was familiar with the product and some of the sales agents, and I was there for about a year. And reason being is because I quickly realized that I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. And that's simply because I would, as a new home sales rep, you sit in a model home and you wait for your clients to come in. You sit there all day. And I would get clients in, right? And we would build these awesome relationships, and we would, sit and talk and go through floor plans and see each other multiple times. But then ultimately they would decide, okay, well, we're going to go with another builder, or we're just going to buy a home that's on the market, or we're not going to build with the specific builder that you're with. So my relationship ended there. And it was frustrating, because I'm like, well, I'm making these good connections. I have these people who want to buy these homes, but they just don't love the product that I'm selling. And I felt so limited to what I could do. Also, it was taking us 12 months to build a home, because we were still kind of in that COVID era, right? So materials, we couldn't get materials, we couldn't get people to work to build the homes. And I didn't get paid, same way, real estate works in just a general brokerage. I didn't get paid until the house closed. So I could write a contract for June of 2024, but I wouldn't get paid for it until June of 2025. And that's a long time to wait for payment, even if you have a large pipeline. So for me, I decided, hey, this might not be the best fit. And I was upset about it, because I thought this was going to be like it for me. So I'm looking at different brokerages, and there's a good bit of them, of course, here in Pittsburgh, and you have your more popular ones, and then you have your more boutique brokerages. But I always saw Compass was new in Pittsburgh at the time. I think they had only been here for like 6 months. And I always saw Compass, and I was like, oh, I love their brands, like their agents, like it looks so cool there, but I'm not qualified to be there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how Compass works, or if you've, talked with any other Compass agents, but Compass, you have to have a certain amount of sales volume to be an agent there. Where other brokerages, you can, just walk in. Compass, you have to have a certain amount of sales volume, and, you have to have recommendations and all that good stuff. So I was like, I'm never going to get into Compass. Well, lo and behold, I joined a team there, and I loved it. Hit the ground running. I think I was so excited to work because I was so stagnant at my previous job. I just, you know, was on go. I sold 62 houses my first year. And eventually, I started to mentor the agents, then manage the agents. And then I partnered with my now partner, Jordan, to be a team lead. So that's kind of the progression. I know it's very long-winded, but that's how it all panned out.
That's awesome. It's such a wonderful success story, and I know a touch of that like feeling of sitting in a model. Like one of my very first jobs was working for a family friend who was a new home construction developer, and he was like, I just need someone to sit in there on Sundays in case like anybody comes in and just take their information down. And I got a lot of crocheting done at the time.
Right.
Like
Exactly. I would like watch my Netflix shows, and truthfully, 9 times out of 10, you would have like the neighbors coming in to like show their family members the model home, or
mm-hmm.
you would have the dreamers, which I was open to, of course, working with, but it was people who, they were so many years down the road from building that it was very, very rare that you had somebody just waltz in like, hey, I want to sign a contract today. It was just, it's stagnant. It's stagnant feeling. And you have dedicated hours. You have to work the weekends. So I was kind of just twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah, and it really shows like your focus was more on the people, right, than the product. And it's so cool that now that you've shifted, you have such a more expansive product to be able to take your clients to see.
Absolutely. And when I first got into resale, I remember being like, okay, I have to sell the house, but I've never been in this house and I don't know how to sell these types of homes because I only know how to sell new construction. And I quickly realized that I don't have to sell the product. I just have to sell myself, right? So I just have to make sure that the client knows, likes, and trusts me, and they feel like I'm knowledgeable enough, and that I can represent them in a very, very big decision. And a lot of my clients, we become like almost too close, like we're friends or seeing each other afterwards, whatever it may be. But I loved those long lasting relationships. And I felt like I was very limited to those in new construction.
Totally. And on the subject of your clients, like what is it like for them to work with you?
For me, I would say when I first started, I felt the need to almost be a little bit too salesy. And that's also because I came from that salesy background. There's a lot of great training in new construction. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I took off the way that I did is because I had that training. But I had to shift my kind of the way that I did things because I realized salesy doesn't work too much in resale, right? They want somebody who's genuine, who's compassionate, who knows exactly what they're talking about and who they can trust, right? Who can almost not be their real estate agent, but their real estate advisor. And for me, that's what I've, always aspired to be and have become over time. I remember I would get ready for showings in the beginning and, it didn't matter the price point of the home. I would like dress to the nines, right? And that's awesome. But no one's going to choose me as their agent because I'm dressed to the nines and I'm all decked out. It's more so who I am as a person and what I can provide and what value I can give to this experience. So, it's become more of, hey, I'm not here to make money off of you. I'm not here to sell you something or convince you to do anything that you don't want to do. I genuinely care and I want to be here every single step of the way, and I am every single step of the way. It's become more of, I think a lot of agents are transactional, and that's fine. For some personality types from consumers, that works really well. For me, it's somebody who's very, very personal and who enjoys having someone who they can build a relationship beyond the transaction, right? Like for my clients, like I know what's going on in their lives, and I know who their family members are and what they do on the weekends, and that's what's important to me is getting to know who that person is. I also think it's made me become a better agent over time, right? Because when I understand their lifestyle and what's important to them and what they love to do, it's when we're looking for a home, I can visualize that, and I can help them apply those thoughts to their new home, or also understanding why they're selling their home, understanding that there's so many emotions that go with selling a home, right? Regardless of how long you've been there, there's memories, there's things that happened, you're attached to it, even if you don't think that you are. Understanding that there's an emotional side to every single transaction, and kind of being that pillar of support for them is what's really, really been important to me. And I think my clients recognize that very early on. And that's why, my clients do choose to work with me.
When you're working with your team, because you're leading a team, which is so awesome, what kinds of things are you teaching them? I'm sure it's this, to be that advisor, to be that support. What other kinds of things are you instilling in your team?
I think whenever you join a team, a lot of the reason that people join a team is maybe because they've been an independent agent for some time, and they kind of need that culture, right? They need that motivation, or maybe they're a new agent and they need the support and the leads and the mentorship and the guidance. So I recognize that everybody who is on my team is on my team for a different reason and has different goals. So I try to apply what I teach them individually to what their actual needs are from me. You don't have to be the most successful in real estate. You just have to be consistent. And it's the truth, right? You just have to be consistent. And I think when you're part of a team, you have that consistency because you see everybody else around you doing the same thing and going into the office every day, even when they don't have to. And they're making their calls or they're doing what they need to do. And it fuels your fire, right? When I joined, I think back to if I was an independent agent, I don't even know if I would have made it in real estate at all. And I think, of course, I teach my team. Yes, I teach them the contracts and I teach them how to navigate certain situations, but I more so teach them to really identify who they are, what they want their business to turn into, how they want to grow their business, and, identify the type of people that you want to work with. My first year, I would have worked with any Joe Schmo that called me up. I would have. I needed the money. I wanted to get the experience. And I think you get to a point in your career where you can be choosy on who you want to work with. They're choosing you, but you can also choose your clients too. And some of my agents, their clients will put them through the absolute ringer, and I see themselves getting so burnt out. And I make sure to remind them that their time and energy is so valuable. And if you don't have that, then you can't do your business. You can't run your business. So my partner is more of the business numbers guy. I'm the worst person in the world at math. So in logistics. So I truthfully am like the moral support, and the hype woman, right? Like I am, if you're having a bad day or you're struggling with your mental health or you're just feeling off, the agents feel, or at least I think that they feel that they can always come to me and we can kind of redirect the situation. And they know that I'm always there as a pillar of support. And that's so important in an industry that can be so isolating.
Certainly. And it looks like it's so much fun being on your team. Your team's social media is it's fun, it's funny. It really seems like everybody loves being there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I always say we're like a big group of friends just trying to make a lot of money. It's the truth. Of course there's rules in place and there's processes and systems, but I understand that everybody has a life and everybody has a certain way of doing things. I try not to apply too much pressure unless I need to. I think that's something that as a team lead, I'm still learning how to navigate, how to balance, being that leader, but also not being too hard on everybody. So that's something that I'm working through. And looking back to when I first started being a team lead, when I first started real estate, I had no idea what I was doing. You kind of fake it till you make it and you wing it. And I've learned and I've grown so much, not just in my career, but personally by having this position. And even on my worst days, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's beautiful. What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned being a leader?
Lead by example. And I say this all the time. I think there's a lot of team leads, and I think there's also, people think that team leads kind of just like sit back high and mighty and just make money from all the other agents. And it's like a big pyramid scheme or whatever it may be. And it's not that way. And I never want it to be perceived that way. People on the outside looking in can think whatever they want. But with my agents, I want them to know that I'm doing the same thing and working just as hard as they are with my clients. Anything that I'm telling them to do, I would do it myself. I just try to lead by example and show them that, hey, this is what worked for me. This is how we can improve your business, but also understand that I'm still putting in the work too. I'm not just sitting back and, overseeing everything. And I think that's really important and it goes a long way.
Awesome. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen agents make?
Lots of them. I think when there's so many people out there that think when you get your real estate license, myself included, that everyone you've ever known It's going to call up your phone and say, hey, I want to buy a house from you, or I want to sell my house with you. And it just doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Specifically, if you start at a young age like I did, my sphere of influence, my friends were not purchasing or selling homes at the time. And then, my parents' circle or, my coworkers truthfully didn't trust me yet because I hadn't done any business. And you can post on social media that you're the best and that you're willing to do this, that, and the other. But until you actually get out there and go through the transactions and see the changes and how things happen, I think it's tough. It can be very tough, and it can be very isolating. I think it's hard for independent agents, especially. And I know there's a lot of brokerages out there that will, if you come on as an independent agent, they will tell you, hey, we're going to mentor you, we're going to train you. But they also have like 50 other agents to train at the same time. And they're training you on contract knowledge and, hey, here's how you go to an open house and here's how you door knock. And that's all great, but they're not really helping you to build your business. And that's kind of that consistent flow that you need to continue your growth, is knowing how to build your business, knowing how to allocate your budget that you're investing into starting your business. Having the right mentor, a person with the same mindset and mentality is very, very crucial to the growth of your career. And I think there's a lot of agents out there that don't necessarily go to the correct brokerage or take enough time to interview all of the brokerages and all the teams and all the options that are out there, because I think that really dictates how you begin your career. And I think there's unfortunately a lot of agents that get their license and they're not doing as well as they had hoped in the first couple of months, and they get frustrated and they leave. And it's not because they're a bad agent or they don't have the ability to do it, but it's more so because they are in the wrong place. So I think that's the biggest mistake that I see agents make, along with thinking, I'm going to do real estate because I can make my own schedule and I'm going to make all this money and it's so easy. Truthfully, real estate has been my hardest job yet. Every single day is a challenge. Every single home that you sell is a different personality type of your clients, a different personality type of the agent that you're working with on the other side. And also you overcome new challenges, right? So I've never had a transaction where it was exactly the same as the other. You learn something new with every single one. With every single one, there will definitely be a question that you don't know the answer to, no matter how long you're in the industry, right? So it's also adapting to the ever-changing market and understanding that there's so much that goes into it on the back end that people don't see, and putting in that work every single day to get yourself to the point where you're comfortable and financially, comfortable to do what you need to do to maintain the growth of your business.
I hear that a lot about schedule, that's kind of like the number one myth, is like making your own schedule. How have you kind of managed your time to, support the growth of your business?
So, truthfully, yes, you can make your own schedule, right? If I want to go get my nails done on a Tuesday at 2:00, I can. If I want to go on a vacation tomorrow for a week, I can. But then things tend to fall short, right? So you really need to be very conscious of when you're working and not working. However, there is not one day since the day that I started that I have not worked. And when I say that, I don't mean I'm sitting in front of my computer for 8 hours a day, but I mean I'm on the phone with clients, I'm answering questions, I'm doing showings, I'm at listing appointments. My phone rings at 11:30 at night and it rings at 5:30 in the morning. I think the way that I have given myself some grace over the years is I've learned you can't answer everybody at the drop of a dime. And if you do, they're going to expect that throughout the lifespan of your relationship with them, right? So if somebody texts me with a question at 5:30, unless the house is burning down, I'm not answering, right? I will answer at 7:30 or 8:00 or a more appropriate hour. So that way, if it happens again, where the next day they text me early, well, now they know, well, Tori probably won't answer me until 8:00, right? So you have to set boundaries for yourself. And there was a point where I wasn't, because I was so scared to lose a client. I was so scared that if I didn't answer, if I wasn't there at their beck and call, that they would go find somebody else. There's so many agents in each market, it's so oversaturated. Everybody has a license. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who's an agent. There's a statistic, I don't know where I saw it, and I don't know if it's accurate, but for every person out there, they know at least 5 real estate agents, right? So I was so fearful that I was going to lose my clients if I wasn't there for them. But I realized that I was burning myself out. Same way we discussed with my agents. And when you burn yourself out and you're not the best version of yourself, then you can't provide any value to your clients at all. I always make sure that I'm just setting those boundaries in the hours that I'm working, which is typically always, but in the hours that I'm working, I'm providing them with the most value that I can.
Do you recommend for agents, or maybe do you do this to yourself? Do you make your clients aware of your boundaries? Like, hey, like you can text me at 5:30 in the morning, but I will answer between the hours of, I don't know, 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., whatever, something like that. Do you recommend that?
For me, I don't mention that because I don't want them to think that they're walking on eggshells with me. That's not the type of person that I am. And not that that's, that's an appropriate boundary, but it's almost like if you're in corporate America and you send an email to somebody at 5:30 in the morning, chances are that person's not going to email you back until 8 or 9 when they get into the office. So I try to just maintain that same mentality in my business, but I don't set the boundaries because I never want anybody to feel discouraged to work with me.
I see that side. And I could also see the other side of the person being like, oh my gosh, but they haven't texted me back yet. So I could see how some people it could work and how some people it could fall short.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because one thing I do say during my initial consultation is I always say, like, if you do not hear from me, I'm not ignoring you. It just means that right now I'm not available. I will always get back to you. And at the latest, it will be 24 hours, and it never gets to that point. But I do set that expectation that I will always get back to you if I don't answer you right away. It's not because I don't want to. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's simply because I do manage a team. I do have other clients, and I do have a life, right? So I am a human. So if I don't get back to you right away, I promise you I will. And I'm very good about that. I mean, my clients are incredible. They are so incredible. And when they respect those boundaries, it makes you want to cross those boundaries so much more, right? Because they're just so respectful of my time and understanding that I too have a life and a family and things that I need to do on my own. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Let's talk about Pittsburgh. You're from there, right? Yes.
Yes, born and raised. I've been here 28 years. That's all I know.
I love it. And it seems like you love your town. Tell us what you love about it most.
Sure. So I love Pittsburgh and I'm partial to it simply because I have always been here. Pittsburgh it's such a unique city. From a personal perspective, I love Pittsburgh because I my family's here. All of my family and friends are here. My roots are here. So I don't foresee myself ever leaving. But I just think it's such a cool little city, and it's been, we've gone through so many positive changes over the years. We've really grown I always say we're behind in the times compared to most places, but, we've seen so much growth here, and, you can get to the city so quickly, and there's so much stuff to do. And the people here, I've heard, at least from other states, the people here are very nice. I don't know if that's true, because I don't always think so, but hey, personal preference, I guess. But I just love Pittsburgh, truthfully. There's so much history, and there's just so many cool parts about it that you don't realize until you leave, right? And you come back and you think of all that we do have to offer here, even though it is smaller. I know a lot of people don't love it because we have something like 60 sunny days a year or something crazy, which can definitely wear on you in the winter months, but I wouldn't go anywhere else. Now, professionally, I think Pittsburgh's really cool for a number of reasons. So I travel to a lot of other Compass offices to talk with agents and build my referral network and, get a feel for their market. Not one market is the same, but Pittsburgh is totally different. We are on an island. And the reason being is because a lot of agents, they, work in a specific area within their town, within a certain mile radius or a certain driving distance. And in Pittsburgh, we go everywhere. I mean, I've met agents who won't sell homes that they can't walk to from their home. So for Pittsburgh, I mean, we're driving an hour and a half outside of the city each way, north, south, east, and west, just to accommodate our clients. Where I feel like you don't find that in a lot of other markets. We're always known as a very affordable city. Our price points are lower than most, a lot lower than most. So we have, I think in the MLS, we only have about 60 homes that are above $1 million. Average price point here is going to fall between 250 to 300, and you can get a pretty nice home for that price point in a good school district close to the city. So people who are been in Pittsburgh their whole life and they see the prices rising, think that they're pretty high. But when you compare it to other markets, you're like, oh my goodness, what you can get here versus what you can get there for a certain price point is insane, the difference. So, I think working in Pittsburgh is awesome. And, I know so much about it. I know so much about it, not only because I've lived here my whole life, but also because working all of those areas, I've become accustomed to every part of the city. And I think that's really cool. Because if anybody calls me and they're in a certain part of the city, I don't have to say, hey, I don't service that area, or I'm not familiar with it, because I pretty much know the whole scope of the city within a 30-mile radius outside of it. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Do you find you get a lot of people like relocating to Pittsburgh?
Yes. So Pittsburgh has really, really great universities, hospitals, and like I said, it's just affordable. We've seen a lot of people move here for jobs though recently. I've sold more homes than you would think over FaceTime, which I think is crazy, but I mean, sometimes that's the only choice, right? That's the only option that my clients have. So with that, I'm very, very cautious, and I make sure when I'm showing them the home, like, we are looking in every single nook and cranny. And then of course, hoping to get them down here, even if it's just for a day, to see the home in person. But yes, we have a lot of out-of-state buyers, and a lot of people coming in to see the city simply because they love it. And there's a lot more options here compared to everywhere else.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, talk about affordable housing it's such a hot topic anymore. And I think a lot of people might end up having to turn to like relocating to fix that issue.
Absolutely. And it's just, prices have continued to rise in every market every single year. In Pittsburgh, we're looking at general appreciation 4 to 5%. That's if, of course, you don't do any updates or anything of that nature. But, the value of homes has gone up here, but the price points were always a little bit lower. So, I'm not limited to one price point. So I work with investors, that are purchasing $50,000 properties. And then I work with clients who are selling $1.2 million properties. And that's a lot. That's high for us. I've met some agents that's like, they're just pumping out the $1 million houses all the time. And that's big for us when we get those, because there's really not many. But it's super cool. And even when I hear the other dynamics of the other markets, I'm a little bit partial to mine.
Of course you are. Born and raised. I love it. Tori, what are some of your goals for the rest of 2024?
I'm so grateful to be able to be where I am. And this year I've really focused on being humble and just really taking in each moment. My entire life, I have been 10 steps ahead and always wanting the next thing. I would get what I wanted, and then I would want the next thing, and I would keep going. And I think that's great, right? Because you have something to motivate you, and you set goals, and I think goals are great. But for me, I feel like I have exceeded my goals in so many ways, and not just professionally. And I just want to continue on that path. I know naturally in life, we go up and down. We only share the highlight reel on social media, right? So a lot of people only see the good. And of course, there's things that go on behind closed doors for all of us that we struggle with. But I would say, just moving forward in 2024, I want to maintain the personal growth that I've gone through since I've been in real estate. It really gives you a backbone. It really gives you a backbone. And it really teaches you what's important. And you don't know what people are going through behind closed doors. And I've recognized that with my own experiences, when I've been going through things and my clients are texting me and calling me, and I don't have a free moment to myself. So, I've been just focusing on understanding that, things aren't personal, and just trying to maintain that personal growth within myself.
Oh, that's a lovely sentiment. Thank you for sharing. Tori, it has been so great talking to you. Would you like to direct people how they can find you, how they can find your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Sold by Tori Angiolini. You can also add me on Facebook, or just give me a call or shoot me a text. 412-651-1814. Also, We Sell Steel City on social media is my team, as well as sellingsteelcitypa.com for our website. Would love for you to follow. And if anybody's thinking of joining real estate, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to hop on a call and kind of discuss my experience. And also, I think it's good to mention any team leads out there, or anybody who is thinking of starting a team. If you are ever interested in kind of working through how to maneuver that process, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help with that as well.
Oh, wonderful. We'll link all of your info in the show notes so people can find you super easy. Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Tori.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Closing Table podcast, brought to you by WindowStill. I'm Kat Schooler. Make sure you're subscribed and following our podcast either on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review or a comment. It helps us find more amazing listeners like you. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.